What's going on? Talk to me about Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill, how did you start? What's been your experience?
You know, I've been through that book, through the audio book twice. The next step is to actually go through and actually read it to get both the auditory and the visual learning. And, you know, I've actually got several notes. I mean, I could go through line by line all the notes. But the biggest thing for me, you know, one of the things that really stuck out for me is it's not necessarily the general knowledge that you pick up in education. Specialized knowledge helps, but one of the big things for me is mindset. What you think, you know, and I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction, and Think and Grow Rich really plays into this, and that's what you think you attract. And so if you're constantly living in a scarcity mindset, you're always going to live with scarcity. You're always going to have not enough. But if you can think from an abundance standpoint, your life is always going to be enhanced, not only by opportunity, by money, but I mean, you know, we're talking wealth here, and we're not just talking about wealth in a money sense. We're talking wealth in, as far as family's concerned, who's in your tribe, the people in your corner, your mentors, your coaches, you know, just the people that influence you on a daily basis. And so, you know, that is the overarching message that I've really gained from the book Think and Grow Rich.
I love it. I love it. You touched up on very, very heavy materials. You just throw these nuggets out. They need a lot of more study. So let's go back to, how old were you when you initially started with Think and Grow Rich?
It was just earlier this year, honestly.
Are you serious? In 1 year, you cashed all this?
Yeah. Well, see, because here's the thing. I do quite a bit of reading, and I listen to a lot of audio books. I'm huge into self-improvement. You know, I'm now a mindset coach myself. But the thing was, once upon a time, I used to be a very negative person. And, you know, to give you kind of some background on me, I spent 13 years in the Marine Corps. In 2012, I took my dad off life support and I watched him die. After that happened, I went through a downward spiral myself. And really had to, I had to see how people were giving me the rope to pull myself out of the hole. What I was expecting is people to get underneath me and push me out of the hole and leave themselves in that pit of misery. It doesn't work that way. Nobody ever wants to do that, nor should they. And so I'm big into the self-improvement. That's really helped me a lot. And so the law of attraction was one of the first things that I really latched onto. And then when I read Think and Grow Rich, it just reinforced and enhanced everything I knew about the law of attraction and what you think you attract. You know, so, you know, we all have our days where we go through, you know, just, do I really have enough, that kind of thing. But for the most part, you know, it's, you know, I am enough. I do have enough. There's nothing wrong with wanting more, but it's wanting more out of abundance versus wanting more out of scarcity.
Right. So let me ask you a question. So in Marine Corps, were you positive at that point, or that was still negative?
I was extremely negative in the Marine Corps. Extremely negative.
How? Well, I'm an outsider, because from outside I look at it. These individuals, they got their discipline together. They work in a group. They got one goal. They got one mission. There's a hierarchy. There's format. There's discipline. So what is it that I'm not seeing?
Well, the thing is, you can have a mission. You can have discipline. You can have camaraderie, but you can still be a negative person. And I see it frequently. And the thing is that to say that there's no positivity in the military? Of course not. I personally was just a negative person. I couldn't pick up rank. You know, again, after my dad's death, that's really when I went through my downward spiral. My dad died of an alcohol addiction, and I had to take him off life support. I sat there with him until he died. And so from that point forward, it was more of a woe is me mentality, and more of a I'm going to do what I want, and I can't get in trouble for it because of what I've been through. Here's the problem. the things that I did, basically, I cheated on my wife, and I had an affair, and I didn't think I could get in trouble for it. I was actually kicked out of the Marine Corps with an other than honorable discharge. So when I got kicked out, I was actually even more negative because it's their fault. They did this to me. I shouldn't have, the punishment didn't fit the crime or whatever. But the truth of the matter is I put myself in compromising positions, and I could not grow until I took responsibility for what I went through, took responsibility for my actions. And once I did that and stopped putting the blame on other people, that's when I was able to start personal growth myself. That's where the growth started.
And what was the pivotal point? What happened that you switched? You're like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm gonna change this. What was that point? Or what was the situation? What was the circumstances? What happened?
So for me, it was honestly it was a process, and I would say the process took about 6 years. The process realistically started the day I took my dad off life support, May 19th, 2012, and I had to go through my downward spiral to really understand what wealth looked like in terms of family, what positivity looked like, one of the things that one of my mantras is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
I agree with you.
And I had to go through all these things in order for me to see that. And so as the process went along, when I got out, I ended up going through jobs. I joke around and say I found this talent. I had this talent of finding jobs I sucked at.
That's a good one. I'm going to use that.
yeah, absolutely. And so the first job I had, it was in staffing. And I must have talked a good game because I didn't know anything about staffing, but they hired me. And so I started it, and the guy that hired me, he had built up the skilled trades department, and I suffocated the department. It was horrible. So I got fired from that job, rightfully so. Next job was working for Salvation Army. The thing I liked about this was I actually got to talk to the guys in a rehab facility that the retail stores that I ran funded. And the problem was they shut that facility down within 3 months. So I was only able to talk to the guys as a group twice. And then I was just working in retail. I hated retail. So I got out of that job. And then I went and chased money. Working for a garage door company. I sucked at that job too. I got fired there too, right? Long story short, I had to find something fulfilling. And the one thing that I latched onto was the fact that the men in the rehab facility came up to me and told me that I spoke to them on a level nobody's ever spoken to them on. And so that right there should have been the piece that told me that I need to do fulfilling work. I need to do heart work. And that's really what's led me to this. Now, the process, I kind of got off track, but the process for me was I watched a ton of YouTube videos. Eric Thomas, I can't tell you how many hours I watched that man. Tony Robbins, hearing him talk about his mom popping pills and beating him as a kid and seeing where he's at now. Gary Vee getting D's and F's in school and seeing where he's at now. Eric Thomas being homeless from 16 to 18 years old on the streets of Detroit, seeing where he's at now. Like, I latched on to those guys. I latched on to their mission. I latched on to their history. I latched on to what they did. And that is what helped me start to understand that this stuff over here, those books, that right there is what's going to give me the growth that I need.
I agree with that.
And in the process, I've been able to become a mindset coach myself and help people find very similar, if not more profound breakthroughs than what I've had.
I agree with that. That's awesome, brother. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. Second is everything happens for a reason. There are no accidents in life at all whatsoever. Most of the time, we don't know why it's happening. We don't know the reason. But it's my profound belief that those things don't happen by accident. And I tell you one thing. it's my belief in my faith that God tests the believers more than the non-believers. So you were just being tested throughout this whole time. And think about it. If those things wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have been able to help a lot of other individuals. You would just have, if they kept you on at your job, you wouldn't be fulfilling in a lot of different ways that you are today. So them firing you, them letting you go was probably the best thing that could happen to you, where you're like, okay, check mark, this didn't work. Let me go to the next one. Let me find out what works. So that definitely, but a lot of people don't get that comprehension that, you know, it might be tough right now. You might go through a little bit of a turbulence and challenges, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger comes right there and there, where you need to repeat that to yourself, kind of brainwashing yourself for success and the right opportunity to come along, just because it's not there. So you and I need to, like, I can't go run a marathon right now without practicing. So I need to go through a lot of challenges to, you know, do the 5 mile, 10 mile, 8 mile, go back and forth, build up this body that will take the pressure of running a marathon. So during that process, sometimes we don't know what's going on. We might be confused. That's why we need you. That's why we need coaches. That's why we need mentors. That's why we need trainers, so they can guide us when we cannot see their light at the end of the tunnel. So they kind of hold a flashlight. They're like, hey, you got to go through this. You are on the right track. Don't give up. You're on the right track. I know exactly what the end result is. Keep moving forward. And that reinforces what we want to believe in. So we are willing to give a little bit more. So I don't know. Anyway, you got me all excited.
There's a couple. Well, good. I'm glad. I geek out on these conversations all the time. You know, and a couple of things I want to add to this. You know, you talk about how it was a blessing that I got fired from these jobs. I agree with you, but I'm going to take it a step further. And the staffing company that I got fired from, believe it or not, a week and a half ago, I did my first paid speaking engagement for that company.
Nice. Am I getting a cut out of it? Am I getting a cut? Where's my...
You know, but the other thing too, another guy that in this last year has really had a profound impact on my way of thinking was Sean Stevenson. If you haven't read, I know we're talking about Think and Grow Rich, but Think and Grow Rich can honestly complement Get Off Your Butt by Sean Stevenson. And that man, you know, we talk about life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. Everything happens for a reason. There's no mistakes. Completely agree. And this man it embodies that, because the guy is 3 feet tall. He suffered from osteogenesis imperfecta. And he, when he was younger, he had something like 240 fractured bones during his childhood, including a femur. And yeah, but the thing is, you know, his mom asked him a question. He said, she asked him, she goes, are you going to make this your burden or your gift? And the thing is, we can ask ourselves those questions every day with everything that we've been through. My dad's death is my gift. You know, and when I tell people that, they're like, holy shit, how can you possibly think that your dad's death is a gift? Well, it's quite simple. I would not be here in this interview with you right now if that didn't happen.
Scott, my question is this. You brought up a good point. My question is this. What is your view on drinking? Do you drink right now at the moment, or has that given you different views on alcohol and substances?
So it's funny you bring up drinking, actually, because I'm actually co-authoring a book myself that will be released. It'll be published mid to end February, and it's called Drowning in Addiction, Sink or Swim. And the three of us are putting in our personal stories about addiction. And so the other two, they had their own addiction issues with alcohol and drugs and that kind of thing. And the story I tell is the story of my dad. Now, I will occasionally have a drink.
Okay.
But how much you drink, that's the difference.
That's the difference.
If you can responsibly go and have one drink with dinner, have a drink when you're at a gathering, but cut it off at 1, even 2, but understanding that you know how much you can have, and you know you can cut it off. My dad's problem was, as soon as that alcohol touched his lips, game on. My dad was such an alcoholic that he suffered from hepatic encephalopathy. That's where the methane levels and the toxin levels build up so much in your bloodstream because your liver is not processing it anymore that you act drunk.
Right. I believe it's easy to be bad. It's hard to be good. So it's having that control definitely comes in place. And I've noticed a lot of people, I've experienced that, but we're not going to get into that. But whenever you see family members go overboard, that traumatizes a lot of people, and they're scared of doing it because they know what it does to other family members. Like, I don't want to put anybody through what I went through, so I'm not touching it. We're not doing it because I suffered, and I don't want other people to suffer it and remember me because of that. So I'm like, no, thank you so much, I'm good. No, I'm a designated driver at all the parties. So that's how we do it. But you and I are going to do a couple of more videos because I think your story is going to resonate with a lot of people that have family members who have issues with alcohol, substance. It might be mild, it might be huge, but maybe you talking about how you overcome that, or how you cope with that, or how do you turn that into positiveness and be able to go and become successful. That would be a good video where you and I could definitely do it. And I want to know more about Marine Corps. I want to know about their mentality and their mindset. I want to know more, and maybe because we get a lot of people that have been in military, but a lot of them don't know what to do after they have served their time. When they come in, they don't know where they fit in. So I want to do a video on that. So you and I are going to be in contact. Definitely, we're going to do this more often.
Two more things. I want to add two more things to this. It's going on mindset. You know, when it comes to my dad, I remember a conversation I had with him. I went over to his house to check on him one day, and he was drunk out of his mind. He was already 4 sheets to the wind. And I said, Dad, what the hell are you doing? And he says, look at me. He starts bawling at this point like my 6-year-old son. And he says, look at me. He says, I'm fat. I'm nasty. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants me. This is my reality. This is what I have. And that story sticks in my brain. The day that I took him off life support sticks in my brain. And that is why I will not allow myself to put my son through that. And that is another reason why I think and grow rich, and why I am extremely ambitious and I have the drive that I do, because my dad died with absolutely nothing, and I refuse to do that. It is my mission to change my family's legacy.
I agree with you too, 100%. It's okay to be born broke. It's not okay to die broke. It is your obligation, your duty to make sure that you perish leaving more than what you were handed into. So definitely I agree with that. We're in tune, brother. We're in sync. By the way, Scott, where you at? Location, geography, where are you?
I'm in Mishawaka, Indiana, right on the border of Indiana and Michigan. Some know it as Notre Dame country.
Okay, I don't know where that is on the map, but draw me the map, let me know. So you're on the other side of Mississippi River, I'm on this side. That's all you have to say. It's all good. You're like really on that side. So what time is it over there? Right now we got 11:30 in California. What time do you have over there?
It's about 2:30 here.
2:30 there. So you and I are going to be in contact. I appreciate you taking this time and being with us. We'll do more often. Thank you so much for being with us, Scott.
I appreciate it.
Take care, brother. Bye-bye.
We'll see you.